exciting map for this game is going to be Metalopolis.
And it looks like both players are ready. There's the good luck and the have fun. If you would like the Flying Frenchman Adelscott to win this game and head on to the semifinals, give a cheer for Adelscott.
And if you'd like Korean pride to shine through, please make some noise for oGsTOP.
And oh, baby, baby, I'm honestly feeling like I'm in for a treat. We do have in the north position Adelscott. Oh, probes doing their own thing.
Getting a little dizzy.
Oopsies.
And make a mistake.
So it looks like Adelscott spawning in the north position as the red Protoss. A little misclick there with his probes. And in fact, look at the production. Look at how far behind he is on that extra worker count with that misclick. But it's okay because in the cross map position is his opponent oGsTOP as the blue Terran.
And I'm just thinking, if we compare StarCraft 2 to Brood War for a second in terms of international tournaments, and when a Korean travels to BlizzCon, when they travel to WCG, they actually hardly ever lose versus a foreigner as such. And in this tournament, he's gone and dropped the game versus Adelscott. And it really does show that from as soon as StarCraft 2 was released, everyone started on this level playing field.
Yeah.
And therefore, a lot of players do have equal opportunities to go. And we've seen it in the GSL as well. We've seen people like Hydra take down Koreans, Ret taking down Koreans. And it's really interesting to see this. And it makes it more exciting as an esport where internationally we can compete with the Koreans. And we're seeing it in this game. And Adelscott might even have the opportunity to knock oGsTOP out of this tournament in this game.
Absolutely. And with these cross-map positions, it's going to be a lot of freedom for both players. Again, I'm a little bit surprised at the fact that neither have sent out a scout worker. It looks like Adelscott is getting a very late gas geyser. It looks like he's going to gear up to get one on 15 gas. No need to get it too much sooner, as he just probably wants to get the warp gate and stalker upgrade.
Yeah, Adelscott always chooses not to scout. In every game we've seen today, he just doesn't scout until a lot later on. And he actually can't scout. If he doesn't scout early, he's not going to scout at all. Because if he does send it out afterwards, there's going to be 2 Marines. Oh, another misclick by Adelscott there. But if he does send out the probe later on, there are going to be Marines there just to deny it, so it's not even worth it. Kind of an interesting play, especially because it's so hard for Protoss to actually scout what's going on, because you obviously need the observer route to see what's going on. And it's kind of key to see what add-on is on the barracks at all times. Has he gone for the second refinery? You can kind of get these details quite early on with the probe.
Definitely, and we do see in oGsTOP's base, he is just getting 2 Mariners, getting that Essential Mule Supply Depot down as well. Not going to do anything big yet. Probably going to be throwing down a Tech Lab upgrade.
Yeah, it looks like he is going to go for the standard build. Here comes a Tech Lab. And then he usually goes into the Marauder with the shell upgrade and then takes his expansion, which is kind of safe on this map, especially cross-position.
Yeah, and it looks like we do see that Stalker is coming out right now. No warp gate at this point in time. Yeah, that does seem to me like a little bit of a mistake. And honestly, there's been 2 big blunders by Adelscott at this phase of the game. He has accidentally misclicked his probes twice now, and honestly, looking at the APM, we see that Adelscott, who normally was playing at around 120 at the peak of action in a lot of his games, was up to 200 at the start. I think the adrenaline is really, really affecting his focus.
You gotta consider the pressure of playing in this also. He is 1 game away from advancing into the semi-finals. And considering people before he came into this tournament didn't even expect him to get through the group stages.
Yeah.
And he actually decides to put down Nexus knowing, well, he doesn't actually know anything. If we look in the radar of his view, he doesn't know what's going on, but decides to put down this Nexus. Cautious play, but he is going to move in here and see this Marauder and these 2 Marines and expect the command center. Does see the command center there. Shell's not quite done yet, so he is going to get this Stoke out there alive.
Yeah, it looks like the standard 1-gate expo from Adelscott, the 1-racks expo from oGsTOP. Looks like oGsTOP is thinking about moving out quite early, just relying on that concussive shell to pick off any units. The Stalker is fast. It will be able to get home relatively quickly. Adelscott chrono boosting the warp gates and getting 2 more gateways of his own and 2 in the gas geyser. Adelscott
making a couple mistakes. Pressure getting to him in this quarterfinal, and oGsTOP is moving out just with that handful of units, a couple Marauders, a couple of Marines. Not sure how much damage he can do, though. I don't know. He's a Stalker. With the shells, though, he could do a lot of damage, and he's going to move in. He does have this, and he is going to be building a bunker down And with the shells, he might be able to pick off this Stalker. There he grabs it. And this Stalker's going to go down. And this is huge because that bunker is going to complete also.
And it looks like he's now moving down with probes and a zealot. He doesn't have enough energy. He can't really throw down in a good spot. His warp gates have just now finished. We can begin making some more units, and it looks like he's trying to pick off the zealot as best he can. And no, it looks like Adelscott is in such an awkward situation very, very early in this starting match. A little bit of mistakes at the start of the game ended up coming back to haunt him, but he is just going to play calmly, get his warp gates up. The game is by no means over right now.
It's definitely no means over, and oGsTOP isn't really going to follow this up. He's comfortable with the position he's created for himself. He's getting the standard 2-backs with the reactors. He's just trying to do a lot of pressure with this. He does lose that extra Marauder, unfortunately, and he is just going to salvage his bunker and move back, but that does create a lot of pressure for Adelscott, forcing him to make more mistakes where oGsTOP is just sitting in his base, macroing away like he loves to do.
Yeah, and it looks like oGsTOP is about 10 food behind his opponent. Wow, that's kind of impressive to me that Adelscott was actually still ahead after that battle in the unit counting station. We do see that Adelscott is also somehow ahead in the worker count. I mean, even though he's doing those little mistakes, his overall fundamental play seems very sound.
Yeah, I think the reason why oGsTOP fell behind in food count is because the reactors actually take so long to build.
Yeah,
and then as soon as they actually kick in now, we're going to see him catch up with food quite fast. Going to be a lot of Marines. He loves to get this combat shield first, which in the European style you never see. You always see stim first. As we saw, the Muslim had the perfect time in getting the stim out before any other upgrade. But no, the Korean style is where you get the combat shield. Stim is being researched now though, and wouldn't surprise me if he does go for a push as soon as his stim finishes.
Yeah, it looks like making a bunker just in case. He did see that there were 4 warp gates down in the base, and honestly, warp gate units are very, very effective in those medium-sized numbers. There's the robotics facility going down for Adelscott, likely going to be getting an observer and gearing up for a 3rd relatively soon. You know what, I'm actually going to say around the 10-minute and 30-second mark, because if I'm right, I'm going to look so cool.
And if you're wrong, it's just an incorrect prediction.
It's no problem. I don't know the future. I'm not a clairvoyant. I can't be faulted.
The robotics bay has been put up now, though.
Uh-oh. Big risk on my part.
And especially because I mean, I guess that oGsTOP practices this daily, and he knows the timing for Colossus, especially with 4 warp gates. And if we look at the stim upgrade, it's about to be finished. If he decides to push out now, he's going to have a similar situation to Game 1, where he has this huge window that he can go into the game and possibly take him out if he decides to push out.
Yeah, I mean, Adelscott looks like he is not gearing up to expand anytime soon at all, getting that robotics bay and that gateway. But, you know, the one issue with any timing push by oGsTOP is the fact that he has an incredibly long distance to go if he wants to actually make an attack happen.
Yeah, that might be the reason why he's not doing it, actually. He's not pushing out. He is getting the +1 weapons upgrade. Moving across now with his starport for the reactor. Going to be getting out a ton of Vikings, I suppose. Unless he might go for a couple of medivacs. We'll see what he does. Yeah, he does go for a couple of medivacs first this time before the Vikings.
And meanwhile, if we go to the resource station, it looks like both players are dead even at this phase in the game. Adelscott now getting that robotics facility, the Colossus coming up, getting more and more gateway units, warping in very tight to his base, predominantly Stalkers to pick off Banshees or Medivacs should they pop out. Oh my goodness, my teeth whistle. That actually hurt my ears. Wow. So it looks like oGsTOP could be gearing up to take an expand kind of soon, but a little surprised that neither player has thought about expanding yet.
I think that's the last thing on Adelscott's mind, because he seems to be, he has got these 5 warp gates with the Colossus play also. Seems like he's going to do a very powerful 2-base push, but the key thing is he hasn't really started upgrading Thermal Lance yet.
Yeah, that is such an essential upgrade. You desperately need to get that range upgrade every single time. There's another Colossus coming out right now. There's the expansion going up for oGsTOP. Very clever placement. Adelscott actually throwing down a pylon, wants to keep vision there. If a probe does end up, an SCV end up arriving, he will easily be able to snipe that one off. Has plenty of money to get an expansion as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think that maybe he would like to do a very heavy 2-base push, but he has so many minerals. There's actually no excuse for not putting down an expansion now, unless he starts to warp in a ton of zealots. But it looks like oGsTOP is going to be moving out with these 4 medivacs. He hasn't got any Vikings out at all, not in production either. He's getting ghosts out to help combat this, but I don't know if he'll be able to do this. He does scan and see the 2 Colossus, but continuing his force up here.
Uh-oh, and I don't think Adelscott wanted to see that. He is now moving over here to expand to the left position, and it looks like he's throwing down a pylon. We see all of these units of Adelscott just pouring out of the base. He's trying to keep a good arc. And one thing that's a little unusual is that if we look over in Top's base, he still only has 4 barracks. That means that if he does lose his main force, it's going to be extremely difficult to replenish when battling the 6 gateways of Adelscott and the Robo.
Third Colossus is being made now. I think that Adelscott is getting ready to take a base. I mean, he's moving around with this probe. Though, is he going to be taking it? I think it should have been put down quite a while ago. oGsTOP is clearing out this pylon in the bottom right-hand side, but he decides to move his expansion towards the gold.
Yeah, this is a very, very aggressive play. I don't know if it's going to work out, considering that the range upgrade from the Colossus can pick off all those workers from the Xel'Naga Watchtower. There's the SCV going up to the high ground. There's the factory. And uh-oh, it looks like a huge drop in the main of Adelscott. Oh no, the Thermal Lance upgrade is not going to get finished. It ends up getting killed at 80%. Adelscott does end up getting the cancel off, but all of his units are out of position, and there's the target fire picking off a ton of these gateway units as well as probes. Adelscott trying to warp in, but that is exactly what oGsTOP wanted in this situation.
Oh my god, this drop has probably done about 10 times its worth of damage, and here it is going to be moving out, and we'll get both of these 3 warping in a couple of stalkers to try and get some hits on them, but no, both of the medevacs do survive, and that was a great drop by Top, and really put him quite far ahead in this game.
Extremely hard to deal with that medevac drop harass. Looks like 2 stalkers have been left behind by Adelscott, and he is going for the huge counter push, and it looks like, oh no, still no expansion from Adelscott. Those nerves are getting to him so much. His fundamental play is great, but under tournament pressure just can't seem to handle it. But it does look like the food counts are still very even, but without any range upgrade, it's going to be extremely tough to combat.
He hasn't got any upgrades at all, but he is going to engage on this planetary fortress. I don't know if this is going to be the best idea because the SCVs are going to repair it.
Uh-oh.
He might be able to take it down, though. Oh, it does go down. Oh, it does go down.
Oh, he gets the planetary fortress, but now all the Vikings are just wailing away at these Colossi. No range on the Colossus. There's the stim from oGsTOP. It is just Stalkers and Zealots against this force. He darts up to try to advance and do a lot of damage, but oGsTOP is coming out in a clear advantageous situation. EMP does a lot of damage. Adelscott still continuing to press forward with these Stalkers, Zealots, but the Vikings seem to be the one thing tipping the balance in his favor, and it looks like oGsTOP will come out ahead.
Another great EMP. The EMPs were so good. Took down every shield from every Stalker there, and he's going to clean up this quite easily. Very nice play by oGsTOP, cleaning that up. But on the other hand, Adelscott has so many minerals in the bank, but at the same time, you did see that day 9 is this drop is still up there, and he could go into the base and do a lot of damage. There are no units inside the base at all.
Oh no,
I don't even know if he knows he has them, and not even hotkeyed.
Yeah, such a tragic little mistake here at the end of the game. Adelscott, who was opening so strong in games 1 and 2, clearly just getting more and more nervous as time goes on. I mean, not expanding for this long is just a clear mental, he just messed up, all right? He didn't expand.
He did mess up. And the reason behind it, if you're just going to stick on 2 base, you need to make that 2 base push work, and it didn't. And now oGsTOP is on the rush. He is stimming, and he's going to go in for the kill.
And now it looks like Adelscott trying to pull up to the high ground. There's the stim and the target fire on the Nexus. The Nexus already down to about half health. There's another huge hit with that EMP. The Vikings have landed more gateway units warping in. There's going to be almost no way that Adelscott can manage to defeat this. oGsTOP just streaming in with so many units, and there's the good game.
oGsTOP advances to the semifinals.
I think a lot of people were expecting oGsTOP to do well in this tournament, but as we've seen, he's been looking very mortal in these games. But that is going to be a big relief for him to have overcome Adelscott, who honestly played very well in that series.
What a great series that actually was. Adelscott, though, I do feel, as you kept repeating throughout this last game, is that pressure